I've been to a lot of parks, ridden a lot of roller coasters, and compiled some very interesting stats along the way. Here's my tallest, fastest, oldest, and a number of other special roller coasters I've been on. I have been blessed to be able to travel around, to visit a lot of parks, to ride a lot of different roller coasters, and I've been able to compile some interesting stats along the way. Now, I haven't been anywhere close to being on the most roller coasters. There's a lot of people that have been on a lot more than I have, people that have been to a lot more places than I have. But at the same time, I don't think my list is too terribly shabby either. At this point in time, I've been on somewhere around 308 to 310 different roller coasters, depending upon how you count, because there is no exact science to counting. Does Superman the Escape at Magic Mountain count as one roller coaster or two? Or does it even count as a roller coaster? I've seen some amazing arguments and stuff over it. For the sake of this video, we're going to go with my definition, and I happen to count that one as one because they're exactly the same. So around 308, 310, give or take a couple, because I probably count a couple that some people don't, and I don't count a couple other people do. And that's okay. So, which roller coasters have I been on that's been the oldest, the fastest, the most inversions, and things like that? Well, I want to give a huge shout out to coastercounter.com for helping me compile some of the stats and look some of this up too. So the top 3 longest roller coasters I have been on. Number 3 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Yeah, it's a pretty long coaster. I believe it's actually the 7th longest roller coaster in length in the world. So it's a pretty good sized coaster. But I've actually been on 2 that beat it. Number 2 was the Son of Beast, which is no longer around, and that is no loss at all. Yeah, terrible coaster. But it was at one point one of the longest coasters around, and I had the dubious pleasure of riding that one. But the longest roller coaster I've actually been on is the Beast, the original at Kings Island. For a long time, it was actually the longest roller coaster in the world, and I believe it's still the longest one in the US. It's a long coaster, and it's a great ride too, especially if you can get it at night. Now, the fastest, the highest, and the biggest drop, my top 3 on all 3 of those are all the same coasters. So I figure rather than just keep repeating myself, let's combine them all. So the fastest roller coaster, the highest roller coaster, and the roller coasters with the biggest drop. Number 3 on that list is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Gee, haven't I just heard this coaster somewhere before? For quite a while, in fact, Millennium Force actually had the record for being the tallest roller coaster in the world. And it's still way up there. There aren't very many taller than it. At 330 feet, I think it is. It's way up there. So that's my number 3. The number 2 is Superman the Escape, or whatever name they're giving it at Magic Mountain now. And for quite a while, this was actually the fastest roller coaster. Now, I know some people don't call it a roller coaster, but it runs on wheels, it stays on its track in one direction, it operates by gravity. It's a coaster, okay? And it has 2 tracks that launch you out at over 100 miles an hour when it's working right. There's definitely been times in the past where it hasn't hit anywhere near that speed, but I have been on it when it's been hitting the 100 and coming up close to its stopping brake of the tower. It's a fun little ride. It's a quick adrenaline rush up and back. However, the one that's the tallest, fastest, and biggest drop of any coaster I've been on is back at Cedar Point again, and that's Top Thrill Dragster. And it's an amazing rush. It really is. Oh my goodness. Last time I got to be there in 2018, I managed to get a handful of rides. I think we got on it 3 or 4 times in between its up and down time. But just a great shot of adrenaline and a fun ride. That is the tallest, the highest, and trust me, it's tall. When you're up at that top, slowly cruising over, and you're looking down, ooh boy, fun ride. The most inversions. Now, there have been some coasters recently that have set records for most inversions, but I actually have 7 coasters that are all tied at 7 inversions. 7 and 7. Wow, what a coinky dink. But all 7 of them are kind of spread around. There's actually a few at the same park. And this one I've got written down so I can actually remember all of them. So here's the 7 that all have 7 inversions I've been on. Scream and Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. There's also Medusa at Discovery Kingdom. At Busch Gardens in Florida, there's Montu and Kumba and Kraken at SeaWorld down there, as well as Hulk at Islands of Adventure. 7 of them. And you know what, as I think about it, I did get on Great American Scream Machine at Great America before it closed. So that would probably actually be number 8, because it was similar to Viper. So yeah, a bunch of them at 7 inversions each. And been around a little bit on those, but I'm actually looking forward to breaking that record, hopefully this summer, with the visit to Kennywood in early June. If I can get on Steel Curtain, that one's got 8, and that'll set my new record for that one. So, fingers crossed it's running when I'm there. Oldest roller coaster I've been on. I'm actually very grateful to say I've been on the oldest operating roller coaster in the United States, and that's Leap the Dips at Lakemont Park in Pennsylvania. 1902 when it opened. Fun little ride. It doesn't go very fast, but when you have nothing holding you in and nothing really on the sides, 25 miles an hour on that, and I think it actually is 18, it can feel kind of frightening. It's a fun ride. If you ever get the chance to go ride Leap the Dips, do it. That's the absolute oldest one I have been on. I have been on 3 other roller coasters that I would also classify as old coasters. Thunderhawk at Dorney, which opened up in 1924, which sadly when I was there was in need of some TLC. You could tell that this coaster wanted to do more, but just didn't, and so I hope they fixed it up a little bit since then. Also, the Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, which opened up the same year, 1924. Love that coaster. When I was at college, about 15 minutes away, I would spend weekends sometimes just sitting on that coaster riding over and over and over again. Great coaster. Wouldn't mind necessarily new trains on it, but even the old Morgans on it are pretty good. And then built a year after that, down in San Diego at Belmont Park, is the other Giant Dipper. That one's not as good as the one up in Santa Cruz. It's a fun ride, but it's not as smooth. So I have 4 coasters that I would classify as really old. But again, this summer I'm hoping to add on 3 more at Kennywood that are going to fit right in there and actually beat a couple of those coasters. So again, grab my list here, and we've got the Jackrabbit in 1920, which will become the 2nd oldest, and then Thunderbolt in 1924, tying with Giant Dipper and Thunderhawk, and the Racer in 1927. Hopefully all of those will be open, and that'll actually give me 7 roller coasters that are all almost 100 years old or older. That's a pretty cool deal. So I'm really excited for Kennywood, if you couldn't tell. If you want to know more about when I'm going to be at Kennywood and Hershey Park and Knoebels as well on that same trip, go check my Facebook page. There's a link in the description. Look for the events tab, and it has dates on when I will be there and the meet and greets. The state with the most roller coasters I have been on at this point. So I actually went through and I compiled a top 5 states for roller coasters. And as well as I can tell at this point, this is how they rank starting at the bottom. Pennsylvania was 16, and that is likely going to change quite a bit this summer between Knoebels and Hershey and Kennywood. It's going to jump up here, because the state that is right above it is Texas at 25. 9 coasters to go. I can do that in Hershey Park by itself. So really excited to be able to move that up. Number 3 is Ohio at 35. There are some parks I have not been to in Ohio, but I've been to Kings Island. I've been to Geauga Lake when it was still open as Six Flags Worlds of Adventure. I've been to Cedar Point, so I've hit some of those in there. I'd like to get that one up a little bit, but not bad. Florida had 44 coasters that I've been on. And with all those theme parks, it's not a surprise that it's got so many coasters in so many places. So I had a great time riding those, but the state that blows them all away, it's got it's just a couple shy of 80 roller coasters, is California. Didn't realize California had that many coasters, did you? But between Southern California and Northern California, it's like 3 states. Lots of coasters, and having grown up there, I've got lots and lots of roller coasters in California. So here's a couple fun little deals that Coaster Counter threw up at me that I thought was kind of fun. The average speed of the roller coasters I have been on is 46.71 miles an hour. Say, oh yeah, that's fast. Well, you go faster in your car. Roll your windows down. Distance climbed, 5.18 miles. That is actually about 1.5 miles higher than Mount McKinley and Mount Kilimanjaro. So I've actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro on roller coasters. Ha! I'm going to think of that next time I play Civilization. So that's a little look at some of the coasters. I was also asked what's the most unusual coaster I have been on. And that one's tough because I've been on some interesting ones. The mine train at Kings Island comes to mind because of the way it ends. And if you've never been on it, I don't want to spoil it, but very anticlimactic. It's kind of like, wait, what? That was it? The couple, Blazing Fury and Fire in the Hole at Dollywood and Silver Dollar City. You wouldn't know that they were coasters, and they're ones that I'm kind of like, I don't know whether to count these or not. The Journey to Atlantis at both SeaWorld Orlando and SeaWorld California are very unique and different. Quite fun. So, yeah, that's some of the more unusual ones I've been on. And I'm sure if I thought about it, I could probably come up with a couple really odd ones. The one that I rode at Castle Park, also called Bima down in Columbia, was very interesting. Not quite sure what this thing is. It was strange. It was fun, exhilarating, and scary all at the same time. So that one kind of stands out in the memory as a different, weird coaster. So what do you think? How do your stats compare to mine? Keep in mind, I'm going to bump them up a good bit this summer. Everything going well, we hope, and excited about that. Do you have anything that you comment on? Anything I should add on to my list? I'd love to hear it. If you've got other ideas too, be sure to check the description below. There's links to my fan pages, my ideas board, my scribble map, which will show you where I have been, where I haven't been, and things like that. So be sure to check the description. Thank you so much to my patrons, my YouTube members for their financial support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and especially with all the upgrades and equipment I'm making, yeah, they're a huge blessing. And thank you so incredibly much for watching as well. God bless. Number 3. However, the one that's the tallest, fastest, and highest, the one... So I actually went through and I kind of compiled a top 5. Is that right? Yeah. And yeah, okay. Bum 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 ba-doop, boop, boop.